Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Sajdah channel. And today is day 3 of the Sajdah Decca Fest. And we're going to be talking about community empowerment. So sit back, relax, like, tell a friend, and grab you some tea or coffee. And we'll be back in a couple minutes and we'll get started.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided thee right, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Anticipate and mitigate the emotional impact of negative financial issues that could potentially create financial trauma. Identify whether or not your relationship with money is negatively impacted by a previously traumatic event. Learn to manage your decisions and mindset to help prevent the onset of financial trauma. Understand how to handle financially devastating events like foreclosure, how to avoid getting into a situation that threatens your property, and how to save your property if you are in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. Navigate your way through a divorce and how to potentially avoid financial devastation to your family. You will walk away with resources to help you start, manage, and scale your business. You'll walk away with resources who can help you to avoid and prevent foreclosures. You also walk away with resources to help you avoid and navigate divorce. You will walk away knowing that you are not alone. Be a friend and tell a friend. Register today. Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you, and welcome to the Sajdah channel. Today is day 3 of the Sajdah Decca Fest. And the Sajdah Decca Fest is a 10-day celebration that I've been doing it every year, but now this is the first year that we're formalizing it. And inshallah, we will do 10-day celebration at Sajdah House next year, with each day having a theme that has helped me to develop as a professional, as a spiritual person, as a believer. That 10 days represents the 10 days between my birth anniversary and my spiritual anniversary, August 30th to September 9th. And today's theme is about community empowerment. And if you know me, I am all about empowering the community. It's so important to me. And community empowerment, I even talk about it in my book. It includes reaching out to marginalized communities and recognizing the needs of the community and figuring out how I personally can be of service to those community or that particular community to help empower the people, and in the vein of entrepreneurship, help figure out what goods and services they need to have introduced into the community that will help improve the quality of life of the community. I have a short video I want to show you. It's a little goofy, but it's just to kind of give you an overview on community empowerment and how important it is for us as conscious entrepreneurs to weave into our business models. Okay, so let's add this in and I will play it for us.
Empowerment is an ongoing process through which those who do not have an equal allocation of resources gain increasing access to resources. Notice several aspects of this definition. It is relational. It involves a disempowered group who lacks access and control over resources, and they're gaining relatively more access and control over those resources. Empowerment also involves multiple ecological levels. At the individual level, Empowerment is about thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. At the level of setting or organization, it looks like reciprocal helping and mutual influence. How does an individual or a disadvantaged group gain access to resources? They work together on shared goals, that's how. Empowerment often happens through alliances and shared initiatives. Think of one light bulb. It cannot produce a lot of light, but if it gathers with a lot of its friends, then it can have real power and make a difference. That's empowerment, going from not having enough power to do something to getting more power so that you can do what you have to do to gain access to the resources you need. Empowerment also sometimes means dismantling unjust and oppressive systems, and advocating for the rights of those who are not heard.
I hope that starts to give you a picture, because y'all know I got to get on our case a little bit. Okay. Remember, empowerment, community empowerment also includes advocacy. So, one of the things that I've done around the preservation movement is I am one of the founding members of the Coalition of Black House Museums. It is advocacy for the preservation and celebration of real estate and properties and history that is important to disenfranchised and marginalized communities. That's part of my life mission. I've been great. I'm so grateful that in the last couple of years, I began to start concretizing these things that are important to me. And that advocacy aspect of community empowerment is extremely important to me. It includes celebrating the community. It includes hearing from the community, speaking to the community, understanding what the community needs, and being dedicated to the community. Another concretization of this mission of mine is the Black Muslim Business Directory. Why is that important? Because so many of us in our community are striving to do for self, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and from a business standpoint. And we need a way to think of community, form community, to come together, to give people an opportunity to introduce their goods, their services, their products, their ideas to the broader community, but primarily even to ourselves, so that we start shopping and buying and supporting one another and making a real conscious effort towards going out of our way even to support one another and to be there for one another. And this is where I got to get on our case a little bit, because some of us are really phony and fake in our spirit. And we kind of sit back and we like, okay, yeah, conceptually, I get it. I'm down. I'm down for the community. I love my people, but we really don't. We criticize excessively. We don't want to be around each other. We don't want to be around other members of the community. We can't see the God in one another. And we wonder why in this day and time, we're not as successful as we could be. Because we are moving in a day and time, if you understand the prophecies that we are living and walking through, where the bottom rail is going to be raised to the top. So walking around thinking that you're all that and not supporting people and helping people to elevate and finding a way to do something for somebody to be an asset is going to be to your and my detriment if we don't do that. Because people are going to remember who helped them on the way up. And in about the late 70s or so, when we had begun to desegregate, we began to integrate. And in our integration process, we left our communities. We forgot about our communities because we did not take on the responsibility and the knowledge that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, and even if you go into many other organizations like the Black Panther Party, that were trying to get us to invest in our own communities. And at that time, that was scary to a lot of people. And a lot of people were still in the mindset and said, oh no, if there's white flight, then I'm flying. So when white flight started to happen and white communities began to leave the inner cities and move into the suburbs, we followed, as opposed to saying, let's fix up and take care of our own community. When that white flight began to occur, we started to see our tax base decrease. We started to see it impact our school systems because we didn't have our own school systems. So we started to see it impact the number of grocery stores that were in the community, the number of accessible services that were necessary for a certain quality of life began to fly out of our community. And so we began to leave as well. As regentrification began to happen and people from the broader community said, hey, wait a minute, those inner city communities are valuable. Many of them are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from downtown. There's not this long commute. The housing structures are more coveted. They're more unique. They can be bigger. You can really get some value. And guess what? To ride the market, it's an opportunity to buy low and maybe later sell high, or watch my equity increase. So you start to get this regentrification. In the midst of that process, our history started to become extinct, which is part of what we advocate for, not only with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, but also with the Coalition of Black House Museums, because this inner city history, which is really the foundation of pop culture and modern day history that we sit on today, we don't know it anymore. And so we can't extract more from it because we don't know it anymore. We've forgotten it. We forgot who lived in these fabulous houses that we're moving back into in the inner city. We forgot the sacred grounds that we walk on and all the sacrifices that were made. We forgot about that. And so it's time for us to begin to think about, talk about, recognize, monetize our own stories and our own history. This is very, very, very important. And that sounds great to a lot of us in theory. But a lot of us have not developed to the point where we love ourselves again. And a lot of us have not developed to the point where we love others that look like us again. So being in a position where we take a moment to really strategize and concretize our community empowerment aspects of our businesses, it's just not something that we're doing. I'm sorry, I'm just picking up something, but we should definitely, as we build our businesses, there should be a community empowerment element to our businesses. Whether we're giving away food during the holidays, whether we're supporting and giving away food during Ramadan, whether we are creating community gardens, whether we're creating spaces where members of our community can come together, whether we're creating a platform like this that showcases members of our community. But we have to find a way to incorporate that in what we do and who we are. Yes, you're correct, Sister Aurelia. It is a real business. Okay. Sister's talking about her community empowerment initiatives. She said community empowerment is real through business. It is. I advocate for missing Native women for Southwest tribal nations. It is widespread among tribal, Spanish, and poor rural communities. You know what, sis? And those missing girls, missing women it's rampant in the minority community. In the Black and Hispanic community, it's rampant. Sisters are missing, especially our little girls, missing, and nobody says anything about it. But let's say you don't have your own initiative like yourself. I see Brother Lamont on here. Good morning, sir. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for the birthday love and appreciation. I really appreciate you. Take somebody like Brother Lamont, who's been a member of the community that I've started for a while. That's another way. You don't have to be necessarily the inventor of it. You can just say, okay, I'm going to empower what Sister Sajdah is doing in her community involvement through Sajdah House, through the Coalition of Black House Museum, through the Black Muslim Business Directory. You can do that. But you should figure out how, what your community empowerment is like. Even with the work that I do, I try to have sister community empowerment organizations. So for me, education of our children, but education is very important. So when I have an opportunity to donate to independent education, that's what I do. Independent education like Muhammad University of Islam, where people have an opportunity to send their children to a school that helps to cocoon them, especially in the primary early ages, helps to cocoon and honeycomb them from a lot of these wild influences that are out here in the world, especially if you can do it. If you can't do it the child's entire school age time, even during the primary areas or ages, make sure that you're instilling certain principles into their mind so that when they go out into the world, maybe it's at 14 and 15. And I'm personally an advocate for the children beginning to have experiences in the world that they live in around 14 or 15, because it's an opportunity, if you've set up the right foundation, for you to kind of coach them through those world experiences. I think what happens a lot of times to us as conscious people, we spend all this money privately educating our children. They navigate through this private little small community, a little small pond from, preschool up to high school, and then we send them to college. And we send them out in the world and they're pseudo grown, and we're not there to navigate and guide them through some of the interpersonal experiences that they're going to have with people who are in a world that is different from the one that they came up with. And so when they go out there and they're on their own, we're not with them in college. So we don't have an opportunity to coach them. And so a lot of us are losing our children or losing the minds of our children when we send them off to college, because we think, oh, they're going out there, they're going to be an engineer, they're going to be a surgeon, they're going to be a scientist, they're going to be a business, they're going to be whatever. But we're not there to coach them in a social environment that they've never really been a part of. So if we can find ways for them to have internships and have an open dialogue with us, then we can say, oh, okay, baby, this is how you handle that situation. Sweetheart, this is how you deal with that. I will tell you, since this is the Sajdah Deca Fest, that's how our parents did us. So we understood how to handle people who were trying to run game. We understood how to handle people who were professional and corporate. We understood how to deal with that because our parents were able to coach us through it. So by the time I went off to college and my brother went off to the Army, we kind of had a basis of understanding. So it wasn't just the technical education, wasn't just the STEMs, it was the social intelligence that my parents were able to cultivate with us, which also helped us with having a sense of community. So I grew up with that sense of community, mission-driven sense of community. My parents rode and bred horses, so they were a big part of the Nebraska Saddle Club. So it was a community of people, and then they showcased that talent in parades and different things like that. My mom worked for the early in the early part of her career, the Urban League. And she had a show on television called The Hiring Line. And anybody out there from Omaha, Nebraska, who has access to the to the Nebraska Urban League archives, can y'all find me the clips of my mom's show, The Hiring Line? And so her advocacy was all about helping to get people jobs. And many of her friends that she helped to find employment retired from those jobs 20 and 30 years later. So instilling that sense of community into your children. My father was one of the founders of a basketball community recreation center in Nebraska called Bryant Center. And so we grew up watching them involved in the community. And so for me, that evolved into, that has to become part of our corporate governance as conscious entrepreneurs, that community empowerment piece. Okay. That is very, very, very important. So that is why day 3 of Sajdah Deca Fest is about community empowerment. All right. But we first got to start here, you guys. You got to start here. What are you doing for the community? Most of us aren't doing anything. We're doing it in our brain, but we're not doing anything physically, because right here in our heart, we don't like other people. We don't like ourselves. We don't get along with folks. We're just phony. And the reason why I say we're phony is because we say we're down, but we're really not. Because what we really want in that selfish space that we're in, what we really, really, really want is to be able to just be over here to ourselves. We want to be able to form maybe a small connection, and then we think that's going to help us make money and build our businesses. It's just not. It's just not in this day and time. It just is not going to work. And so another part, which this kind of ties in all 3 days, but another big part of that is making sure that you start practicing the act of looking for God in everything. And most of you all know this story that when I came into the nation, I was working a corporate job in Indianapolis, Indiana. I had graduated from college. The company that I was supposed to be working for told me that I was going to be working in Chicago. I was elated because for whatever reason is yet to, well, I can't say is yet to be uncovered, but Allah put it in my spirit at a very young age that I wanted to live in Chicago. Out of all the cities that I studied in world history, Chicago was the one. And so when I had an opportunity when I graduated from college to get a job, and they said, "Oh, you're going to be working in Chicago." I was like, "Oh, okay, that'll work." And then at the last minute, they said, "No, you got to go to Indianapolis." And so that was divine too, because I came into the Nation of Islam. That's where that 9990 came in, September 9th. But when I was leaving Indianapolis to go to Chicago to serve my nation and work at the National Center, Brother Yusuf said to me, "Now, when you go up there, sister, you look for Allah in everything." And I never forgot that. Never forgot that. So in every face I see, I'm looking for Allah. In every environment I'm in, I'm looking for Allah. In every dollar I get, I'm looking for a way to uplift the name of Allah with that dollar. I'm looking for him everywhere, in every blade of grass, in every store, whether it's a grocery store or a furniture store, in every car, in everything, in the sky, in the ocean, in the water, in the sea, in the lake, everything. I'm looking for God everywhere. And because I'm looking for him everywhere, he shows up. And so I live in this world where I'm always interacting with the spirit, with God all the time, because I'm always looking. And I've done it so long that it's at a point where it's subconscious. I look for him in colors, in sound. Even if I'm tasting something, I'm looking for him. So any new life activity, any new sensation is a way for me to find and explore Almighty God, Allah. That's how I live my life. But he said that to me about in 1991, and I never forgot it. And his wife was standing there, Sister Virginia, Sister Captain Emeritus Virginia Muhammad, D. Muhammad. And he said, when you go up there, sister, you look for Allah in everything. And she said, and when you find it, you hold on to it like it's a little baby. She never forgot that. Never forgot that. And so all of these principles have been layered onto principles that were instilled in me growing up. And those layers have become the evolution of who I am and who I am continue to grow into. And so that's what the Sajdah Deca Fest is all about. So I want to thank you guys for joining. I'm going to jump on tomorrow morning. We're going to go to day 4. Let me tell you what day 4 is. And shout out to my sister Sajdah Evangelista, Sajdah Kareem, for putting this together for me. Day 4 is about wisdom of leadership. And you all know, if you're a friend of the channel, that we talk about leadership often and how we should be as leaders and how we're going to be as leaders as we begin to rise with our knowledge and our development in our businesses, in politics, and whatever aspect, whether it's healthcare or education. We're rising leaders. We're emerging leaders. We're superstars. And we want to make sure that as we're elevating and as we're growing as leaders and as people, that we are truly and honestly trying to do our best to be the best leaders. And so we have to go all the way down to those granular levels of thought. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow morning on day 4 of the Sajdah Deca Fest. I want you to go deep into your granular levels of thinking. They say the devil is in the detail. Well, guess what? The devil can't be over there dominating in the details. God is in the details as well. The beauty is in the details. The making and the development and the explosion of the seed occurs in that fine little micro details. All right. So thank you, family. Thank you for joining this morning. Tune in, like I said, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll make it real quick. So instead of Sajdah's Monday morning motivation, we're going to have day 4 of the Deca Fest. Okay. Make sure you are registering, okay, for financial trauma. Use this QR code right here. The Financial Trauma Bootcamp is designed to help us to eradicate some of the trauma that we have going on in our vibration around finances. Many of us are poor or can't earn money and can't make money and can't get ourselves up out of a financial hole because we are dealing with financial trauma. And we don't know it. And we really don't know how to get ourselves out of it. So we're creating this community of people that is helping to support and love one another up out of the financial trauma that we've been dealing with, so that we can unite, so that we can pool our resources, so that we can do for self, so that we can first love ourselves and accept ourselves and really and truly be a community. We do not want to be one of these communities that brings all these old business models, these old mindsets, these old social constructs over to our new community and expect to produce different results. All right. And so in building that community, we're going to have some subject matter experts. This particular financial trauma workshop is focused on divorce and mortgages and foreclosures. Okay, so we're going to bring on some subject matter experts. We're going to ramp up the advertising. We got about 14 days left for the boot camp. Right now, y'all, it's only $80 a household, $88, I'm sorry, per household, $88 per household. So we want you all to make sure that you join. Um, it's time for us to it's time for us to grow. It's time for us to shine. It's time for us to be wealthy. It's time for money to no longer be an issue between us. It's time for money to not be an impediment to the development of our community. It's time. Okay. And I have a very special presentation that I'm going to do. I have Dr. Michael C. Grayson that's going to be on. I have Brother Wali Muhammad, former Captain Brother Wali. He's going to be on. We are still waiting on confirmation from our divorce coach. But we're going to deal with this stuff. We got to deal with it. We're going to talk about what your mindset needs to be when you go into marriage, into foreclosure, into a mortgage. What to do if you're in trouble, if you're already been served. What do you do? What do you do if you've been through an eviction and a foreclosure and it didn't go so well for you? And so now you have that financial trauma in your vibration. What do you do now? And how do you move forward and make sure that you don't bring the residue of what happened to you over there, over here, into your new endeavor and your new opportunity? It's all right. You're not alone and everything's going to be okay. But you have to know that, and you got to participate, and you got to put in the work. Got to put in the work. So sign up for the Financial Trauma Bootcamp Part 2. It's only $88 per household. Use the QR code right here, or just go to Eventbrite and search Financial Trauma Bootcamp, or just go to any of my social media pages. If you have my bio link, there's a link there for you to go and sign up. Only $88 per household. All right. Thank you, family. And inshallah, we will see you tomorrow morning.